everyone, and welcome to the Steaming Pile of Awesome podcast where we watch shitty movies so you don't have to.
And sometimes, just sometimes, they're the right kind of bad, so you should. Not like this one. Would you agree with me on that, Darren?
Yeah, this is not one of the movies that we are going to recommend anybody watch.
Yeah.
For any reason.
Unless you might be in Nicolas Cage's extended family and you feel obligated. Anti-Cage has to watch this, but that's it.
But really, the only reason I could see watching this movie is like if you lose a bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie we're talking about, of course, episode 9 today is the 2018 episode, Nicolas Cage starring in Mandy. This is an interesting movie, buddy. I had never seen it before, and I thought that it would be a great one for you and me to just pick apart and enjoy, but turns out it kind of didn't really work that way. So everything is so ridiculous in this movie that you can't really make fun of it.
Yeah, you were right about half of that. We are going to pick it apart.
Yes.
We do not enjoy it.
No, we do this painfully on your behalf.
Yeah.
Okay, so first things first, we got to do a warning here before we even get started with anything, because this movie is very rated R. There are tons of things that happen in this movie that we should not have exposed to children. So we don't recommend anyone watch this movie, but we definitely don't recommend anyone that's too young to hear really bad words and gory things.
Even I felt too young for this movie.
Yeah, fair enough. It should be like NC 87.
This is
How old do you have to
40.
be? NC 40, that's great. All right, here we go, buddy. I'm about to start the 2-minute drill that we always do. First, the would you watch this? I think you already know the answer to this, but I'm going to try and make it as engaging for you as possible. So I'm going to have to get through this, so I'm going to need a little help, okay?
Yep.
Whew, okay.
That is straight wisers for you folks at home.
Ooh. All right, we got to get through this quick. Darren, a lumberjack played by Nic Cage, lives with his artist wife named Mandy in an isolated cabin in a peaceful forest called the Shadow Mountains. It is 1983. A religious cult led by a wildly uncharacteristic person named Jeremiah stumbles upon Mandy as she takes a walk and immediately decides he wants to rape her. By making a deal with a conveniently nearby biker monster gang, they subdue Nicolas Cage and steal his wife. After drugging her with liquid LSD and a giant hornet venom, she manages to reject Jeremiah's advances, to which he responds by putting her in a giant potato sack and burning her alive while her husband is forced to watch. Luckily, Nic Cage is impervious to sword attacks, and he manages to get free. He then becomes the most Nicolas Cagey you will ever see him, as he hunts down and gets revenge to all the people who took part in the murder of his wife. This revenge story is simple, but takes us on a visual journey that includes heavy metal style naked lady visions, melting faces, cocaine-fueled fight scenes, a chainsaw duel, and even a few decapitations. If you want to know what taking a high-powered psychedelic drug is like, but don't want to actually do drugs, this might just be the movie for you. But you will have to like a lot of red light and cheddar goblins. Darren, would you watch it?
I feel like almost the entire description, I'm looking at this and going, there's no way in hell that you can get me to watch this. And then at the end, you could have actually just been like, oh, and it has Nic Cage, and I would have been like, okay, maybe I'll watch it. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna go in with some trepidation.
Sure.
Judged by the description, but I trust Nick.
You trust Nick.
He's
never made a bad movie. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, he's made bad movies. I've just enjoyed them.
Fair enough. That is totally true. Yes, me too, man. 100%. All right, so this movie starts off with the kidnapping of Mandy. Of course, there's a little bit of a setup where we basically have two kind of damaged people living in a kind of a cool-looking house in the middle of the woods somewhere. And we've got Mandy, played by Andrea Riseborough. And of course, Nic Cage plays the character who is her husband, who will remain nameless because he is Nic Cage. So they live out in the woods. She tells this crazy story about her dad killing birds. They're obviously both kind of dealing with some mental stuff, and they kind of are out there for a reason in the middle of the secluded area. So, and of course, as I said in the beginning, a crazy weird cult comes through, and they decide they need to have her. So they hire a biker gang that just happens to be nearby that is full of like really weird looking monsters. And in order to summon them, they use this like horn of praxis thing. So the reason why I'm even bringing it up is because this movie does this thing a couple times when they do like weird occult magic. And like, for example, this like ocarina of time here, like they blow on it and bad things happen. So it's like, but like they always go to like this weird green strobe light whenever like weird shit is happening. So how did you feel about this? Did you like it? Did you like the green strobe light thing? Or this movie's got a lot of like colors.
Yeah, I understood what it was supposed to do. Like it's supposed to give you the like you said, like the occult feel, like the ominous, like something bad is about to happen, and really
like an epileptic seizure.
Yeah, really. I mean, the bad thing that was happening was there was still like 98 minutes left in the movie. And this was just our first taste. Yes.
There's going to be more of this. So the three bikers that show up in the credits, their names are Scratch, Sis Scab, and Fuck Pig. So we'll find out why Fuck Pig is named that later. I'm just going to call him FP for now because I hate saying that word. But they take Mandy in the middle of the night and they steal her away from Nic Cage, and they take her back to Jeremiah, the leader of the cult. They take this like strong LSD that's kind of a part of the whole plot that does not matter at all. And they drug her right up. And then to make matters worse, what do they do to her? It is a giant bug with a stinger in a jar. Yes. And they stab her through the neck.
She got a fucking dart in her neck.
Yes! You just took one in the jugular, man.
They should have pulled it out of there, man. Pull one off.
The only redeeming quality in this movie would have been like Sean William Scott jumping like, you goes, yes, yes, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, that would have been great, but Sean William Scott was busy. So we've got Jeremiah, played by Linus Roach. He's trying to like seduce her, and he's dressed for success here. He's in like this, like what I can only describe as a creepy white Sub-Zero outfit from Mortal Kombat. And he decides he's gonna just show her what he's working with, try and get her on board. And yep, he presents his meat wagon.
He took it out.
He took what out?
Yeah. This is a thing that happens.
Yeah, I feel like male nudity, like full frontal nudity in a movie, like I'm open to like whatever. I have no concerns about it. But like,
if girls can do it, guys can do it.
And awkward about it. Like
it is just very weird.
Like I just feel like the penis is just not an attractive feature.
He took it out.
That is fair.
You should just stay hidden. Like, not that shit bad.
It didn't sweeten the deal.
No, it didn't. It's like, hey, do you want to join my cult and maybe be one of my 17 wives? And she's like, no. He's like, well, maybe this will sweeten the deal. And he drops trowel.
He what?
There's meat hanging out. Like, what?
Don't do that again. Do not do that again. That was not good. So So her reaction, of course, isn't a polite thank you. She literally laughs at it. So That doesn't go over well with old Linus here. Jeremiah decides to burn her alive while Nic Cage watches. So they tie him up to this swing set and they set her on fire in front of him. And just to make matters worse, they take a big knife and they like stab him through the rib cage, kind of right in the lungs area. So they leave him for dead because he obviously would not survive that. But turns out Nic Cage can. So they peace out. They're gone.
Yeah, I believe that blade was about 18 inches long.
Yes, it was. It was a spear. It was a spear of destiny. Absolutely.
And it went all the way in.
Oh yes. Getting gross again, Darren. You're getting gross. Hang and wang and spears going all the way in. All right, so this is like where I wanted to spend the most time is this part because this is the most ridiculous thing in the whole movie. And pretty much by far my favorite 12 minutes of this disaster. So Nic Cage comes to, he plays with his wife's ashes for a little bit and decides to go into his house. So he's standing there.
Did you say plays with?
Sure. What would you say he did? Mourned her, I guess? Sure,
yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Plays with sounds like he was like, oh, I wonder if I could draw my name in this. Like, Nick plus...
Mandy.
Nick plus Mandy.
NM. That's funny. Hey, you understood the movie your way. I thought of it my way. That's fine. So he goes inside his house and his TV's on. And what's playing on the TV? Do you remember?
Oh man, it was like a bad infomercial or something. Wasn't it?
It was a commercial for a like a kid's noodle pack called the Cheddar Goblin.
Who ate all the macaroni and cheese? Look, Cheddar Goblin! Cheddar Goblin, did you eat all the macaroni and cheese?
Nothing's better than cheddar.
Cheddar Goblin.
So let me set the stage for anyone who hasn't seen this. It is a commercial where two children are eating like craft dinner style, like cheddar noodles and cheese, like noodles and cheese. And the mascot of the box is this giant, green goblin that pukes onto the children. He pukes the cheddar onto the children and they love it. And they just want more. So they absolutely are just digging what this goblin is putting out there. And Nic Cage is just blankly staring at the TV watching this infomercial for this Cheddar Goblin, now with 60% more cheese than any other brand.
Cheddar Goblin by Devane has 60% more cheese than the next leading brand.
That was the thing it was boasting.
That is a lot of cheese.
That is a significant amount.
I've had the leading brand.
Yes.
It was enough cheese.
It was fine.
More, it was just too much.
Yeah, it could be. We could debate cheese on noodles all day, but we have to move on. The Cheddar Goblin throwing up noodles on the children was it was amazing. It was like, this is exactly what I signed up for when I watch a Nic Cage movie.
Yeah.
So he goes into the bathroom to collect his thoughts and a hidden 40 of vodka under his sink, because I'm assuming all people who live in the woods have a 40 of vodka just under their bathroom sink. What do you have under yours?
In case of murder, please chug glass.
Yes. And he does. Oh, man, does he.
Yeah.
So
if I remember correctly, he doesn't even wince at it. He just straight up downs his bottle of vodka in an impressive fashion. Yeah.
In an impressive fashion. Thus the ode to that earlier on
Much the
today.
same as your Wisers, yeah.
Yes, the whiskey. I can't do vodka. That would just be insane. My favorite part of this scene, he takes the vodka, pours it on his open gash of his spear wound, his machete cut, and that, I guess, magically cures him because he's fine after that.
Yeah. It's basically like spray foam for your lungs. Like,
Right.
it just
Seals
the
it.
wound, like,
Just Staples, vodka Staples edition. Oh. So after this, he collects himself. He decides he's going after these guys, and he goes to Bill Duke's house to hang out and resupply and get all of his weapons. So he gets a bunch of weapons and his classic crossbow. For some reason, it's important to him, and he goes and gets that. And then he builds himself an axe because all loggers know how to make axes out of like pure silver that they have lying around, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty cool scene.
That's logging 101.
Logging the first week you learn that.
It's day one of logging school.
Day one. It's got to be at least day 3. They got to like show you what a tree looks like.
Day 1, lesson 1. It's like, class, I'll get you to pull out the clump of silver that we have laid on your desk, and let's go.
That's great. Yeah. So he makes himself an axe in some forge he's got handy, and Nic Cage,
build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
I love it. I love everything about it. The dude. All right. So Nic Cage is going hunting now. So he ends up taking out the first of the bad guy biker gang. He finds them somehow, and he takes the first one out by basically shooting him with the crossbow and then running him over with his car. But he hurts himself in the process. So when he wakes up, he's tied to a radiator, and there's like weird, creepy female biker one that I just nicknamed Slimy because she's just like covered in juice and gel and petroleum jelly and just looking nasty. So she's got him tied to a radiator, and she's basically, I think, going to play a little game of like Operation on him just to see kind of like what makes him tick. But he ends up loosening a pipe and taking her out with it. So he wallops her once in the head and then throws her over a convenient hole in the middle of the floor that just happens to be there. It's like really deep hole,
which I believe is bottomless. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There just happens to be a bottomless pit nearby, so that's very helpful.
It's actually the pit of misery. Dilly.
Oh, no. I was hoping you'd forget that.
Pit of misery. Dilly.
Oh, no. The pit of misery. It's glorious. You are such a nerd, and I love you for it. So Nic Cage comes out of there after killing 2 of these biker things, and they're in this house that they've been squatting in, and there's a bunch of dead people around. And we get old FP back here. He's watching porn on a little cathode old school tube, 1980s TV screen. He's watching porn, and he's got this huge knife strapped to his wiener, and he's just chilling out watching pornography here, chilling out by himself, drinking, snorting cocaine, having a good day. And Nic Cage tries to sneak up on him. Typical Friday night for FP. Yeah, he's living his best life. He's doing him. But Nic Cage tries to sneak up on him. It doesn't work. He gets into this very compromising position where like this guy falls onto him trying to stab him with the pee-pee knife, and it misses. And Nic Cage ends up taking like a nearby box cutting knife and just slits his throat. So there's just blood everywhere. It is gross. And Nic Cage, well, his character is loving it. Maybe Nic Cage too. I don't actually know, but he is really selling it. Like he's enjoying getting doused in this blood.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So just a quick note. Do you find it odd that in this movie, the sword penis is not even the most disturbing penis in the movie?
That belongs to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
It is taking a silver medal to his meat wagon.
His weird cult dick.
Slightly to the left and then the right.
Yeah.
He button hooked us. Yeah. So Slippery's back and she's ready to fight. So they have this cool little fight scene where Nic Cage gets the upper hand very quickly and snaps her neck, and then does like the Bruce Lee like stance thing, and he ends up celebrating by taking a huge snort of cocaine off of a piece of glass, the ultimate cocaine snort, which he decides to also mix with their LSD they've been holding on to. So he's right effed now at this point.
I absolutely loved this celebration because in the last 10 movements of film,
yes,
we've gone from Nic Cage being just like your regular average Joe in the backwoods of Washington, kind of lumberjack, salt of the earth kind of dude. And in the last 10 minutes of movie, he has literally chugged 30 out of 40 ounces of straight vodka, murdered 2 different people, hammered what I can only imagine is a couple ounces of cocaine straight up, and then dropped some random drug out of a jar in the kitchen.
A mason jar in the kitchen that looks like mercury.
And
what could go wrong?
He just went like right over the edge in no time at all. He went
in zero time.
He went through all 5 stages of grief and then just immediately went to like, I don't know, stage 7, celebrate the fuck out of this.
You go ahead. You celebrate that, buddy.
Yeah. Stage 7, YOLO. Yep. Let's do this.
YOLO. He's not done killing yet. He's got about 4 or 5 more people to do. So he goes outside. There's one more of these biker guys left, and they fight each other. He cuts his head off, and then he is moseying. He's rolling. Now he's got to catch up with the rest of the cultists. So he stumbles across an alchemist in the middle of the woods, and he finds out it's the guy who like makes all the drugs. And they have like a nice little conversation. They chill out. There's some really weird dialogue that doesn't affect the movie at all. It's just perfectly in tune with the rest of the ridiculousness of this movie. And they basically agree that they don't need to kill each other, and they mosey. So he points Nic Cage north to find the cultists, and he lets his tiger out. Oh, yeah, by the way, Darren, he has a pet tiger. And he lets him go because he's changed his mind because he's met Nic Cage, I guess. So he's decided to let his tiger go. And we get Nic Cage driving off into the moonrise while a tiger in the background is roaring. That is not something I just made up just now. That really happened.
It's like if you could go back in time and ask the 10-year-old version of yourself what would be the coolest movie scene ever, you'd be like,
yes,
a guy riding a motorcycle into the moonlight with a tiger roaring in the background is like, ooh. Like, what kind of idiotic 10-year-old fantasy is this? And the director of the movie is like, mine.
Just casually like,
Can we have the tiger dick swinging in the moonlight?
Yes. Yes. He's like writing it down like wildfire. He's like, oh no, this is gold. I love this. Keep going, little kid. Yeah. What? Have dragons in it too? Nice.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, let's put them all in.
Yeah.
So he catches up with this guy who blew the ocarina earlier. His name was like Swan or Swami or Samsonite or something.
Samsonite. I was way off.
And he catches up with him, and he kills him with by shoving the pointy end of his handle of his axe right down his throat. This guy deep throats the spear end of a limited edition Nic Cage axe, and it is gross. Gross. Very gross. Yeah. Close up, slow.
They really went gory with a lot of these deaths. Like, they went full on, almost like almost like Kill Bill, but not satirical. Like
Yes,
they wanted it to be
they meant
gritty
it.
and gross.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like Tarantino if he was even more twisted. Fuck.
Yeah. So he finds old Swami there, and he puts him down, and there's two left. So there's this one dude that earlier he was just like a complete mouth breather. He he's waxing his car to a mariachi song, and he hears a whistle, and he looks up, and we get this like point of view shot of the axe flying headfirst into his brain. So he's done in like less than a second, and there's only one like goon left, and he's this like really big dude. And Nic Cage finds a chainsaw, and he starts the chainsaw, and it's like a normal sized regular like logging chainsaw that he's probably used to as a lumberjack using all the time, so it would be a good weapon for him. What does the big guy pull out, Darren?
A bigger chainsaw?
A much bigger chainsaw.
Sorry, I didn't mean to undersell it. Sorry.
It's at least 3 times bigger.
Yeah. It was quite the weapon.
It was something. So they have this kind of cool choreographed chainsaw fight, which I thought was neat. And at one point they both lose each other's chainsaws, and I thought that they were going to pick each other's chainsaws up. But Nic Cage decides to not do that. He grabs a chain, he throws the chain around the dude's neck, and he basically does the scorpion.
Get over here!
And as he pulls him, the guy goes belly first over his own chainsaw, and that is it for him. Yet again, another gory, gross, unrelenting scene that shows you more than you want to see. But now all the goons are dead, Darren, and we have 2 people left. We have old Marlene, who is like maybe Jeremiah's like main squeeze, or at least she was for a while, and she's maybe outlasted her usefulness to him, I guess. But so she's in the church. Nic Cage stumbles into the church, and he goes down this secret little hole in the floor, and he finds Marlene in her own little like spare room, and so she propositions him.
Now that's an addiction, man. You ever suck some dick for marijuana?
And he turns her down by cutting her head off. And then he finds Jeremiah in a nearby room. He again gets prepositioned by Jeremiah, and he turns him down by crushing his skull mountain style.
Did you say he gets prepositioned?
Let me say that again. He said of and therefore. Wait, no.
Yes. He just all said it is of therefore.
If.
Yeah, if.
I'm starting this over. You're not even gonna get that joke in. I'm gonna be editing that out. Hey man, that word's hard. Like proposition, that's a hard word. That's like a $3 word, dude. All right. So Jeremiah is dead. He's been head squished like in Kids in the Hall.
I mean, I'm only crushing your heads. Crush you.
His eyeball is popped out, and that is it. This movie's over. Mandy has been successfully avenged, and as Nic Cage leaves the scene to this weird psychedelic kind of like otherworldly horizon, he is tripping balls on his LSD coke that he had earlier, and he is hanging out with his wife. He's flashbacking to the first time they met, and she's chilling in the car with him, and he is soaked in blood and smiling, and it's a very off-putting way to end a movie, but it ended. So what do you think, buddy?
Yeah. Wow, what a wild ride that one. I honestly say that this is the first time that I would recommend that people not watch this movie, that you'll actually get more out of our shitty podcast than you would this shitty movie.
Fair enough.
So, save
we summarized it enough.
That they're going to charge you to rent it.
Yep.
And it was bad. It was painful to watch. It was hard to follow. It made you all sorts of uncomfortable and bored and just wanting the end. And it eventually mercifully came. Yeah.
Yes, and it did. It mercifully came. So we can both agree that this is not one of our favorites to have done. It could have been. I think there's like a 20-year-old version of me that would have just loved this thing and like told all my friends how cool and hip it was. But yeah, it's not. It, like you said, it was weird, but not in a fun way. Like it was, and it was, So, but I do feel like there are some things that it actually kind of did that were fun. So I have some redeeming moments. So before I talk about mine, did you have anything in this movie that you would say redeemed it?
I'll hear yours first. I'll ponder on that while you're giving us your redeeming.
Okay. So the acting in this movie is ridiculous. It is over the top and insane. And the scene in the bathroom. Without any context, show it to someone and be like, watch this and just see what they say, because it is ridiculous. It is insane, but it's cool. I love that it exists, I guess. So that's a redeeming quality. There's one girl we didn't even talk about in the movie. Her name is Lucy. So Lucy is played by Lynn Pillay, and she's like basically like this young girl that was picked up by the cultists that they're kind of like stringing along, and she has a couple of moments in the movie where she does some like capital A acting, some pretty awesome stuff. There's like a scene where Jeremiah is trying to show Nic Cage like how devoted all of his cultist followers are, and he basically gives her a gun and says, do it. So she like holds the gun up to her head and she pulls the trigger and it clicks, and he's trying to prove a point that like his followers are so devoted that they'd even give up their lives for him, when like you can tell on this actress's face, like it's obviously like, this is my way out. I'm pulling this trigger. I'm out of here, buddy. This is better than that. Yeah. And she does a great job. There's like no words, but you totally get it. Like it's right there on the screen. And I love stuff like that. And later in the movie, when he's killing Swami, he lets her run away, and she does this like great, like 5-second emotional, like roller coaster of like, oh my God, I'm dead. No, I'm not. I'm free. I'm out of here. It's awesome. So she does a good job. So in a bad movie, she does a great job acting. So it's really a shame. And there's like these cool little snippets throughout the movie that are like these little like heavy metal inspired cartoons. Like we didn't even talk about them, but like there's one where like there's a cartoon of Mandy and she's like turning into a dragon, or she's like holding up a heart or something. There's like all these like weird psychedelic things that happen in these little cartoons. And basically like every time Nic Cage goes to sleep, he like sees like a cartoon heavy metal version of naked dead zombie wife. So
those cartoon scenes only reminded me of Beavis and Butthead Do America when they trip balls in the desert and go to the white zombie rock video.
There's a problem here.
Yes.
Except less fun.
Less fun than that. All right.
The one scene that I actually really liked in the movie was when Nic Cage gets off the prisoner bus, and there's a gentle breeze blowing, and it just kind of like wisps his hair, and it's the first time that he's been free for like presumably years after accidentally murdering a man with his bare hand. Oh, that's Con Air.
Wait, yeah, sorry. I love me my John Malkovich in that movie.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I have no redeeming factors for this movie.
Fair enough. He didn't even take
Other
his
than
face off
reminding
in this
me-
movie.
Yeah, other than reminding me of Beavis and Butthead Do America, I
Sure.
really can't say that this thing did anything for me. Yeah.
Even the cultist Wang didn't do it for you.
He took it out.
Yeah.
Especially that.
Yeah. I think it would have been better if he had it went like Buffalo Bob style and like tucked it back.
Nice. Okay, you're gonna make fun of me for prepositioning you, but you're gonna call Buffalo Bill Buffalo Bob.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
whatever.
The tuck back would have been great.
The
I
tuck
knew who
back
you
would have
meant.
been-
I knew it. Yeah. Did you have a favorite character? I'm going with
if I had
Lucy,
to
just
pick-
because she actually acted.
If not really a favorite character, but an actor who I think did the best in this movie,
Sure.
I'm actually going to say Jeremiah, only because like I cannot believe that they found anybody who would actually be remotely like that.
Right.
So it had to be somebody who just dove that deep into a character and was just a really twisted person. And I think it's hard for an actor to really try and figure out who that is, because you can't really talk to a cult leader and be like, tell me about you. Like, like what makes you tick?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
you just,
What's going on up here?
like, what's going on up there? Oh, crazy shit. All right.
Yeah, batshit crazy. Perfect. I will write that down. The flesh of fallen angels, you say? Excellent. Okay, perfect. Yes. That's a good point, man.
Exactly.
That is a good point. You make a pretty good point there. We also need to talk about Mandy herself, because she's not in the movie very much, but she's played by Andrea Riseborough, who, I mean, I didn't recognize her at all in this movie. I looked it up after the fact on IMDb because she looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. But one of my favorite movies to watch over and over and over again, as ridiculous as it sounds, is the Tom Cruise movie Oblivion. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
I love my Oblivion, and I don't know why. I can't justify it. It's not a movie that you should watch 57 times and every time you're not feeling well, but I have. And it's just one of those movies that just brings me joy. And she plays Victoria in Oblivion, who I've seen many times and did not recognize her because she looks so different in this movie.
Yeah.
So I'll give her credits for that. How about some interesting quotes for you to choose from?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm 100% ready.
Awesome. So the first one comes from Nicolas Cage and Bill Duke. Bill Duke, of course, of Predator fame. The Anytime guy, looking good here in 2018. When Nic Cage comes to see him, he asks him for his crossbow, and his response to him is, "What are you hunting?" And Nic Cage responds, "Jesus freaks." And Bill Duke's response to that is, "I don't know if they're in season, man."
They're
Love
always
it.
in season.
They're always in season. Oh, geez, Darren, stop, please. It's rated R, but seriously. The second one is somebody asks him if because he comes back and he ends up fighting all these people and murdering all these people. And one of the guys asks him, like, "Do you have a death wish?" And his response, Nic Cage says, "I don't want to talk about that, man." It's a
What
simple question.
We cut the chit chat.
A-hole. I don't have a death wish. I just want to take his face off. And of course, the third quote, which is going to win or else we can't be friends anymore. Nic Cage says at one point to someone, for some reason, "You are a vicious snowflake." There was no context.
Yeah. I can't give it to Snowflake when Nic Cage says he's hunting Jesus freaks. That's just such a great.
And Bill Duke is in that conversation. You win.
Yeah.
You win.
Yeah.
Can't argue. All right. So a little bit of research here, very little, and we're on our way out. The budget for this film, would you care to guess?
38 million.
Oh, chainsaws have really gotten high in inflation lately. There's a lot of blood packs. You have to pay for a lot of blood packs.
Yeah.
The budget for this movie was $6 million. Would you think it made less than six, or more than 6 million?
So it got those. It's narrowed down to 3 options for me.
Those 3 options: less than 6, 6, and more than 6.
Ooh, I'm gonna say it made more than 6.
Oh no,
Oh,
it did
no.
not.
Oh,
So
good.
far, it has made $1.5 million in select theaters. And I say so far because I feel like for whatever reason, this is going to be like a huge cult classic that a bunch of people buy and love and will cherish.
I disagree. I think cult classics usually have some kind of fun. And
Yes.
a lot less
Sure.
meat swinging.
Sure. Yes. Little less meat swinging. Little less wang hanging.
A little less wang.
Little less fuck pigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's 6.
One less character named Fuck Pig
Yes.
would have really helped this movie.
You know what this movie needed? 60% more fuck pigs. That's what it needed.
1.6 fuck pigs.
1.6 fuck pigs would be great.
Yeah.
All right. So
That's
last
good.
thing to say.
Hold
Originally,
on,
Nic
though.
Cage.
I
Yeah.
just
No.
gotta
Go ahead,
say, like,
please. Yes. By
Before we
all
move on,
means.
going back to 60% more, because I really feel like we need to focus and narrow in on this. You
Right.
had a box of Kraft dinner in your life, correct?
Yes. Yes. Many times.
Could you imagine?
You and I
could
went to
you
college
imagine-
together. You know we had those. We also had the generic whatever that thing was that we would buy for like 13 cents less because that was
Yeah.
if we did enough of those we could have another shot at the bar. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you
I remember those
imagine-
days.
Could you imagine 60% more cheese on those? Like,
No.
it was already so overpowering.
Yes.
You would have literally had to have some kind of monster bust into the house and vomit cheese on me for
To make you
want more.
yeah. Good point.
And then I'd be like, well, maybe.
Yeah. I would try it once. What is that, a cheddar goblin? Get that over
I'll
here.
try
I want to try that. I'll try it.
I'm in college. I'll try anything once.
If everybody's having cheddar goblin, I guess I'll have some too.
Yeah. And then
Gotta keep my mind
open. Jeremiah busts in. He's like, well, if you're going to try anything, I'm like, not that.
Not that, buddy. Not with that curve. No, get out of here. I think we beat that joke to death. Okay, so originally Nic Cage was approached to play the character of Jeremiah. So it's funny that you mention him over and over again. But he insisted that he plays the main character. So basically, the director and Nic Cage, the director's name was Panos Cosmatos, which sounds like a perfect name for a guy who made a movie like this. Just like a weird named dude doing a weird named movie, and I love everything about it. Basically, they shelved the movie for a year because they couldn't agree, and Panos Cosmatos did not want to do the movie without Nic Cage in it. So after about a year, they got back together, and at that point, Nic Cage had gone through a very emotional separation with his wife at the time, and once again pleaded to play the main character of Red, and the director agreed because he thought that Nic Cage had exactly what he needed at that moment in time to do this movie. So it's insane. It's absolutely insane. This whole movie is insane from start to finish, and it makes a lot of sense. Would you want to guess? Yeah, go ahead.
Could you imagine being the financier of this movie, and like the director approaches you and he's like, I've got a really good script.
They're called producers.
I've got a Nic Cage attached to this movie, and you read through it, and you're like, even just reading like the pitch, and you're like, this sounds like shit. And the director's like, no, it's gonna be really good.
Hear me out. It's all going to be in red. It's the whole movie's red.
It's either going to be
and we're going to like drag it across the floor a bunch of times and scratch it up so it looks really blurry and grainy.
It says here at one point that like you have a character named Fuck Pig. Oh yeah. But we're not going to say his name. That's just going to be in the credit. All right, I guess we'll give you $6 million to make it, but you can promise that it's going to make its money back. It's like, yep.
100%. He pulls a
crossed.
Bigfoot and Hitler killer and puts his hand behind his back and crosses his fingers.
Heil Hitler, but not really. I had my fingers crossed. Yeah, exactly.
And now I shoot you. Oh, yeah. Great. So Rotten Tomatoes scored this movie a 90% critic score. 90. That is a 90. And the audience scores it a 66. Where do you fall on that very big gap between a 90 and a 66, buddy?
I feel like I'm going to have to side with the Rotten Tomatoes critical score on this movie.
The 90?
They gave it a 90. What? And I'm going to give it the other 10. This movie gets a 10%.
You get a 10. Fantastic. You complete me.
Yeah.
I love you. Awesome. I gave it a 12. A 12.
There we go.
And a 10.
Yeah.
And a 90 and a 66. That is by far the weirdest score we've had yet.
Who watched this movie and was like, yeah, that's a solid 60. I don't want my money back.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Like, I don't know. That's the thing. Let's discuss this and then head on out of here. But neither of us recommend watching this movie. But did you like it?
No.
Like, I know those are different questions.
Yeah.
Slightly. No. Yeah,
I did not.
Me either.
I did not. At no point in this movie was like, this is enjoyable. This is not a waste of my time.
Yeah. This is a movie like that has lots of really cool things in it. It's got like this weird monster biker gang, which on paper sounds really interesting. You've got Nic Cage going on a massive murder hunt spree, and that sounds interesting. You've got heavy metal inspired cartoons, and I'm like, I dig that stuff. I'm here for that. And you've got like pretty exceptional high level gore for people who enjoy that kind of stuff. That's not my thing, but some people love it. And like none of it seems to work together for me anyway. So yeah, I'm with you, man. 100%. All right. So would you like to tell the people here on our next episode of Steaming Pile of Awesome, what do we have planned?
Yeah. This is a super exciting idea that we came up with. I love it. Now, spoiler alert, we have already shot this episode. I'm not 100% sure I love the episode, but the idea is fantastic.
I enjoyed it very much.
So what we're doing with every 10th episode is we are going to take an old movie and the remake of the new movie, and we're going to compare them face to face.
Yes.
So in this...
The boot versus the reboot.
Yeah. And for the first one, this was an absolute no-brainer for us. We decided to compare Total Recall and Total Recall.
That's right.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger classic and the Colin Farrell lump of shit.
Easy, Tiger. Easy.
Hint on where we side.
Yes.
Which movie was better.
Exactly. We're going to argue a lot on the next one, buddy. Paul Verhoeven classic, Total Recall and its reboot. That is next week on the Steaming Pile of Awesome. And every 10th episode, we will be taking an original movie and a reboot and checking them out together and hopefully coming up with some interesting comparisons. So, that's next week on this podcast. So, like and subscribe, and we'll be back again with another one next week. And until then, I'll see you soon, Darren.